Hello everyone and welcome to GuildGab, episode 85. Today we're going to be talking about the Ring of Fire and Ember Bay, and I'm here with my good friends Inks and Corvus to talk about all that. We've got a lot of info this week. How have you guys been? It's been, what, a month and a half since we've done a GuildGab?
It's been a little bit. It's been a little while.
It's been a while. I mean...
been good.
ArenaNet keeps us updated with current events, there's stuff in the gem store, so it's not like ArenaNet's not been updating stuff, little bug fixes and things, but this week we got the big news following PAX West, actually. There was a bunch of news sites that went to PAX West, talked to ArenaNet, and they announced to us for the first time on Tuesday, episode 2 of The Living World is going to be coming out on September 20th, and it's going to take place in Ember Bay in the Ring of Fire Islands, which is huge. What do you guys think of this? Were you expecting this?
No, not at all. I really didn't think this would be a place we saw this season, you know, I was expecting just another kind of, Bloodstone Fen is obviously a really important place in the lore, but just a kind of smallish map like that, I expected that would kind of set the precedent for the rest of the episodes in this season. But this is like a place that we've been wanting to go since launch, you know, that has huge implications for the world and huge ties back to Guild Wars 1 and Masteries there too. So I just wasn't expecting that kind of news whatsoever. So really big surprise.
It's interesting because the community, the vocal community anyway, has been screaming for Ring of Fire since, at least since episode 1, if not a little bit before then for some people. Or at least since we've heard about Prime Mortis. You know, it's interesting because, I was sort of against it simply because I really hope there's a good reason why Prime Mortis is moving towards the Ring of Fire. I hope it's a better reason than, oh, he's a fire dragon, so he goes to fire, because it seems a little weird. It seems a little weird that he was sitting right around the central transfer chamber for so long without really too much movement, as far as we know anyway. And all of a sudden he's like, gotta get to the volcano, here I come. As well as, of course, Lazarus, who we don't really know what his motives are or what he's up to. And I'm sure there is going to be a tying, underlining story there as to why he would go. You know, there have been a lot of speculation as to why Prime Mortis is now moving towards that volcano and stuff. It's just, I don't know. It feels maybe a little cliche to me that the fire dragon's going to the volcano. It is interesting that one of the articles from MMO Hut sort of, and I don't know whether this was the author's speculation or whether there was something said in those meetings where he said, what about another dragon coming up at the same time? He's like, I would put my money on another dragon causing even more havoc than we already have with Lazarus and the Prime Mortis in the mix. So does this mean Krakatorik or Jormag or the Sea Dragon also coming into the picture?
Mm-hmm. I think with all of this information that we got this week, we do have to remember that all of it is hearsay from these sites. Nothing has been officially coming directly from ArenaNet, and I'm not saying that any of the information on these sites is wrong, but it's the author's interpretation of what they heard, because there was, I think, 3 or 4 different news sites that reported on this, and all of them had very slightly different information. Some had very specific names of bosses and NPCs that are going to be there. There was only one of them that mentioned the heart quests being back. There was another one which was the only one that mentioned the word destroyers. We don't know for sure if there are going to be actual destroyers there. So I'm saying take all of this information with a grain of salt and you know, kind of interpret it as you will.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, they were shown, I think, a demo, right? Or I guess a trailer type of thing, maybe. I'm not sure if there was any super strong gameplay or anything. I have no idea what they saw, but you're right. They will have seen this, they've gone home and basically written about it based on their experience and their opinions of it. So I'm not saying like any information might be wrong, but the guy saying that thing about there being another dragon, that could also, that could just be his kind of, oh, this would be cool.
Yeah.
But because it's in this list of new information, people are going to be interpreting it as a fact alongside the other facts. Like there's a jumping puzzle, right? That's basically, that's probably going to be there. So it's kind of tricky. You need to, like you were saying, just take it with a grain of salt. Don't interpret every word as a fact, but like a general idea, you can tell, what's going to be most likely there and what won't be.
Whatever my community and I discussed this on Tuesday, I read the article, and so all the information was brand new to me. A lot of people in my community were like freaking out about heart quests. Heart quests, I hate heart quests. It was either I love heart quests or I hate heart quests. Oh my god, they're coming back. I would not. My interpretation of that is I don't think they're going to be like exactly like the heart quests we've seen at the launch of the game. I think it's more going to be akin to the new sort of daily system in that map. I think instead of the dailies in the upper right-hand corner, there's going to be like, it's going to encourage you to spread yourself out throughout the map and play in every quadrant of the map, because there's going to be a heart quest in every quadrant of the map. And that's just my speculation. I don't think it's going to be exactly what you imagine a heart quest to be. Almost like a personal dynamic event that you repeat once a day.
Well, I mean, we've been seeing something like that happening now with the current events where you're tracking these things down on the map. You can't do that even if you're in a party with someone. The locations are going to be different. It's a thing you do kind of like that. And hard quests are weird. Some people love them, or maybe some people miss them, and some people really don't like them.
Right.
People like that kind of more solo experience where you're walking around and, oh, I'm helping this out, and it tells a little story that's not controlled by a clock, and, oh, I missed the start of the event, so you miss this whole chunk of story. Like, this is going to be something that you'll be able to walk and just do kind of on your own and take it at your own pace, which it sounds good. But a lot of people don't like that kind of heart quest system. I think general consensus is that it's like the crappy old questing system from old MMOs, but without the cool parts, like the lore, like it's just kind of a fetch quest or kill everything quest or whatever. Just kind of a bit boring. And I'm really interested in this just because I'm one of those people that wants that kind of more laid back content, walking around this new map and taking it at my own pace, not having to watch the timer and work out, and with all this big zerg around me, that kind of thing. It brings back a sense of like exploration and getting immersed and stuff like that again. But I'm kind of wary of how the system's going to be, because it's repeatable, so the story is not going to be that meaningful just because it's repeatable. They can't tell you a story about this one character and this happens to him and blah blah blah. It's going to have to be something that realistically could happen every day. Like, oh no, our little town's under attack, because that could happen every day. So, I don't know. I'm just really interested to see how they handle it. I don't think it's going to be actually like hearts on the map even. It might not even be like that. It could just be, this outpost doesn't help this outpost every day kind of thing, or something like that. I'm not sure. It's going to be interesting.
We're definitely lacking a little information on exactly how that works and what the rewards are. We know that there are rewards, but we have no idea what those are, and that definitely sounds... So we know that there's going to be a new in-game weapon set, which is pretty exciting, but that sounds like that's tied to some sort of circus theme, which is separate from some of the other events that we've heard.
Odd. In the
It's
Ring
so
of
weird.
Fire.
I mean yeah.
Well, but it makes... The way they sort of told it, it does sort of make sense. One of the articles, I think it was MMO Hut maybe, was saying that this is not just about the Fire Islands and the story, which of course is a big part of it, but this is also a time for celebration. A lot like when we killed Zaytane and then had Dragon Bash, we've now killed Mordremoth, and I don't know that this is necessarily a return of Dragon Bash, but they did want to stress that this is a time to celebrate the victories that we have had.
Well, that's a good point, because maybe this we don't know where this map's going to fit in with the story. Like with Bloodstone Fen, it kind of happened about halfway through that we got there. maybe this kind of circus theme and this kind of celebration and where the new weapon set might be rammed in would be this kind of the bit before we go to the new map. You know, maybe somewhere in it, you know, there's a thing with activities and everyone celebrate. It just seems like a weird time in the story to do that, considering Lazarus. We know something about Caudicus too, so we need to hunt him down. Lazarus could be a threat, so that's another thing we need to hunt down. We've had this activity with Primordius. It just seems like now, really? You probably should have celebrated during the content drought, you know? Like, instead of now. But we'll
True,
see.
but you know, does the whole of Tyria really? I mean, sure, we know about Primordius, and we know that he's moving, and certainly there's some other people who are looking into that with the current events and such. The whole Lazarus and Caudicus thing, some people know about that, but the whole of Tyria, I would say, probably is not really involved in that just yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're not acutely aware of that just yet. And it sounds like at least one of the events was you need to capture these magically enhanced creatures for the circus to, you know, put on a display. This like fire sloth and stuff that you need to, which is pretty dark. It's pretty interesting that there's a number of dark undertones happening here. The fire sloth event, which sounds pretty interesting. You need to distract her and feed her before she eats her babies, before she eats her young. So,
yeah, I mean, it sounds cool.
It sounds pretty interesting. It's very twisted and dark, sort of, but it's like, stop eating babies! What are you doing? Stop it! My gosh, fire sloth.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty, like, I don't think that this fire sloth is going to be very much like the raid boss Slothosaur, but just like we had that Veil Guardian boss who isn't exactly like the raid boss, I'm wondering if this is, again, some sort of derivative of, like, that raid boss. Is it going to be...
It's gotta be.
Not the same mechanics, but similar sort of mechanics.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of interesting to add into the world where, you know, obviously not everybody raids, even though you may have seen videos about it and stuff like that. And sure, the mechanics are not nearly as difficult or tuned for that. And it is, you know, like a larger event for lots of people. But it sounds like there's going to be a couple big boss events, this Fire Sloth sort of being one of them. There's a giant worm, which sounds really interesting. And personally, I hope that at least for one of these, we get back to more of the traditional, like, world bosses. Heart of Thorn sort of got away from that a little bit. Yes, there is, like, the Mouth of Mordremoth event, which is, like, the whole map-wide meta that eventually goes into a boss fight. But the other ones are sort of, like, large meta events that have semi-boss mechanics here and there. And I would really love to see a return to, like, a Triple Trouble Worm kind of fight or something like that. That might be asking a little too much. I don't know, but the fire worm, or the lava worm, or whatever it was called, the caldera.
Yeah.
Sounded like a really interesting fight. Like, the ceiling can collapse and you can fall into the lava, and I don't know. So I'm kind of hoping for a boss fight, and there's going to be a jumping puzzle. It sounds like a large map that we're getting. And the one article also made it seem like, I'm wondering, like, is this just going to be one map? Or is this going to be like a region where we get one map, but then the other pieces might fill in, you know, as we progress the story and the season and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's maybe I think it all ties into where the story's going. If we were only in this place for like one episode and then something big happens and we go to maybe a bit north, the Shiver Peaks this time or something, then I don't know, maybe it could be a slightly bigger one. But it definitely sounds like it's going to be bigger, obviously bigger than Bloodstone Fan. But I don't think we're going to get the entire island chain in this one map. You know, I think they're going to spread it out. But the thing is, on the map, and obviously the world map, you know, it's blurry because it's undiscovered and junk. But it doesn't look that big. You know, it like you could take like a Heart of Thorns map and it would fill that whole thing. So like, I mean, potentially we could get the whole thing in one map, but I don't know, maybe we're going to hang around there longer, investigate more, do more stuff, then they could expand on it every time.
Yeah, I kind of hope it's, someone in chat says, I hope it is 2 or 3 maps in total. that gives it is sort of like a new little or mini region, if you want, if you will. But I want to be able to explore like all of those islands, like all of those maps.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want it to be just here's one map in the center and this is like all of the Ring of Fire. I want it to be like a couple of maps maybe, which would be really cool.
In Guild
and they
Wars
talk
1,
about
it was like 3 different maps at least. So I expected it just simply because of my expectations from Guild Wars 1, even though I know it's not going to be exactly the same, that it's going to be multiple maps, that we're going to get like a section now. And then perhaps even like the next raid could maybe take place on like one of the islands, one of the smaller islands, something like that. So, and then maybe the story could take us, maybe one part of the island is like instanced with the story, something like that.
The only problem I have with the idea of expanding over episodes is that, and I mean, this happened with me with Bloodstone Fen, where I kind of got sick of the environment. It was kind of the look and the aesthetic and stuff of it. It was really effective for the first time going through and with the story and stuff, but I don't want it to be season 2. Honestly, I kind of got a bit worn out just because of the desert thing. It kind of felt like the same kind of environment over and over, and I mean, I don't know how drastically different it's gonna be from the Guild Wars 1 version of the area, but if it's that same kind of craggy, volcanic, red, misty, kind of dusty stuff, I mean, if we're, I don't know, I just don't want to get kind of sick of that kind of style of an area. In the same way that, like, after the end of Heart of Thorns and doing the meta so many times in all these maps, like, I'm kind of sick of the jungle. And so go to another hot place, I'm like, dude, can we just go to the Shiver Peaks again? But I don't know, like, it's going to be cool to see. I think the differences between Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2 are going to be, it's going to be one of the more interesting parts of exploring that area. It's going to be cool. There's not so many places in Guild Wars 1 in that region that's especially interesting. You know, it's there for the end of the story, but there are some cool little spots that might have some little connections back, which would be kind of nice. But I think it will be over. I think it should be over a few maps. I just don't want the next episodes, over the, considering we have to wait a month and a half to 2 months between each one at this rate, like, to stay in that same kind of area, and especially because there wasn't loads of kind of notable spots in Guild Wars 1, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I would definitely rather... that's the thing. I would rather have more maps in the area because I think it would do it justice better. And having one map that's spread out and kind of not that interesting, like, just... I think it would do it more justice if it was more detailed and there was more maps, because it gives them more time to work on loads of different stuff in that region. But at the same time, I don't want to be stuck with the new map being, it's another volcano map, for... it's 6 months or something in a row.
Yeah.
So, I think you can. I don't know. I think you can look to the name as well. This is called Ember Bay, so clearly this is like where we enter
the entrance.
The area of this region. I do wonder, where are we taking a boat from? Are we taking a boat from LA?
Yeah.
Are we taking a boat from South Sun?
Taking a boat, or are we taking an airship?
Probably
it could be an airboat.
I mean, an airship probably makes a little more sense. I guess, right? Those seem to be a lot more prevalent. It keeps you out of the water, which is not the safest place to be in Tyria, clearly. But yeah, do we leave from LA? Do we leave from South Sun Cove? Which the current events seem to be taking us to next, right?
That's the last place in the current events where we're tracking Primordus's activities. So maybe something happens in South Sun, in a few days when that kind of event updates that. And then this is kind of what I'm interested in too, is the reason why we go there. Like, what could really happen in the lore or in the story that makes us go there? Like, Primordus's activity going south, like, okay, that could be reason enough, I guess. Like, I don't know, like, maybe we're hunting down Lazarus and, the Mersat were here once, so maybe we should go down there and check it out or something. It just, I don't know. I want, like, a big compelling reason to go to this place that, is been, like, completely ignored by the races of Tyria for 250 years. It seems like we should have a big event to take us there. So I hope there's some kind of big story beat that happens.
I mean, So we do know from one of the articles they mention the Mersat fortress that was there, and how it's a distant memory of what it once was. So it's probably not out of the question to think that Lazarus would go here to retrieve something or look for something or get something. It was a pretty big place for the Mersat. So he goes there, Caudicus chases him, and then Canuck chases Caudicus, and then we chase Canuck, and time he gives us a call on the phone, she goes, "Yo, Cuba." Primordus is right under your feet, by the way, just so you know. And so then everything sort of ties together, and water dragon comes out, and he eats people too, well, and I don't know.
See that? I mean, that's an interesting idea. I'm kind of curious to see how much the environment might have changed in that time, because Zaitan rose, and that caused a huge tidal wave, right? Like wiped out Lion's Arch, it took out the Battle Isles, it did all this stuff. And surely, I mean, that really wasn't very far from the Fire Island chain at all, like, it could have done some damage, and maybe it just washed and put out the volcanoes or something, and then maybe life began to flourish, and it could be a lot greener. There could be some nicer kind of environment areas there. I think there was one article or something that talked about Skrit living there.
There's pirate Skrit. Apparently there's Skrit everywhere.
That's
I was a little like about the Skrit too. Like, why would you go there?
Because they're Skrit. They built a ship.
Well, there's Mersat treasures and this cool stuff there, and I don't know, maybe pirate Skrit are like super clever, and they went there to salvage stuff.
No, yeah, I mean, you've seen them. They're building an upside down ship inside the sand crevice or whatever that.
Maybe they fix that boat and they take it to the Fire Island chain.
That would be pretty interesting. I mean, they're Skrit. They're just basically everywhere looking for stuff.
I think I was kind of disappointed in that, because this was like a big, like really like formidable place in Guild Wars 1, and I kind of wanted to have the same mood. And then the fact that Skrit are there, which are just kind of this comic relief kind of race, I don't like that much anyway.
Comic relief. I mean, I love the Skrit, so it doesn't bother me too much, but I totally understand, and I think Wood and Potato sort of made this argument a little bit as well, where like you were just saying, Corvus, they're this comic relief character, and the Ring of Fire is supposed to be this dangerous, deadly place that almost nothing can survive in. And yet here comes a Skrit, and he's wandering around.
There's circus people there, and they want to catch the fire sloth for their entertainment, for their circus.
It's just like
that almost makes me think, Corvus, like you said, like maybe there is some kind of little oasis there that's not so harsh and deadly. Because all of the articles mention there is fire and brimstone and deathness, and there's a giant volcano, like just everywhere. Like, so it is an island of death, but there's got to be some kind of small little reprieve for these Skrit, for these circus folk. Like, there has to be something. They can't just be wandering around in the Ring of Fire. That's just doesn't make any sense.
And they did a similar thing in like Dry Top and stuff as well, and where they had those little places, and in Silver Waste where it was kind of a bit less. They had like the little oasis and stuff like that, like an actual oasis, and there. What's going on outside? There needs to be like a balance. There has to be a kind of balance in the environment as well. I think it's just, you can't just have one map that's this one texture for ages. I think like good map design need some variety there, and I think that they will throw something like an oasis or maybe a little city.
Even Bloodstone Fen had the different biomes, if you will. You know, you go all the way down, and there's like the light rocks and the ley lines, and then the sky is all red and dark, and then you had like the ground layer, which had some vegetation.
You could go to the edge where there was like a waterfall, and it was clearly kind of connected to the jungle, the main like kind of normal jungle environment, like blended into the map.
I mean, it was a nice place until they blew up a Bloodstone.
Kind of wish we could have seen it before properly.
Turns out blowing up a Bloodstone, not the best idea ever. Not the best thing for the environment. Go figure.
By the way, one of the articles did mention, I think it was MMO Reporter, that the zone is more flat, kind of like a not a core, somewhere between a verdant brink and like a core Tyria map. So it does have a lot of verticality, but it's more flat. You don't have like, these 7 layers of biomes and stuff.
Confusing.
Yeah, and like Bloodstone Fen was very vertical. You could go way up into the sky. You could go way down into this crater. They said it's much more flat. Does have verticality. It's got a giant volcano. It has jumping puzzles, so it does have that verticality. And they also mentioned that the ArenaNet was trying to make it slightly more casual player friendly than some of the more recent maps. And not so much that, everyone freaks out, oh no, casual players. They want it to be more inviting for people who aren't so extremely hardcore about the game that they're playing for, 4 hours a day and they can get all this stuff. They want people who can just, they can play for a couple hours a week or maybe half an hour a day to be able to at least get their progression, get their new mastery, and there is a new mastery, so I think it sounds like it's not going to be hand holding, but it's going to be slightly more forgiving for players like that.
Yeah, and when they say this, I think they're talking about navigation of the terrain itself. Heart of Thorns for some players can be especially at first, you do get used to it over time, I think. But at first, it can be rather unwieldy when you're used to Corteria being a particular way. And I'm not saying totally flat, but certainly more explorable or more easily explorable than the Heart of Thorns maps were. But at the same time, I think that this sort of this casual approach is probably the wrong way to phrase that, but. There are hearts to do here, so there's a little more direction for players. Those are repeatable, so we don't know if that's a daily repeatable thing or a weekly repeatable thing, or can you just spam it, the same heart over and over again? What does that actually do for you? The fact that there are updrafts and ley lines and stuff, which help you move around the map a lot easier. That's all good stuff to help you get around the map, but the fact that there's not so many biomes and layers, the fact that it's less of a burrito, that's actually good for players. It's good to get back to some sort of Corteria mix to make it a little bit more enjoyable.
I do remember around the launch of the expansion that there were a lot of people complaining about how it wasn't as welcoming as Corteria had been, and the fact that you can basically walk through all of the maps in Ore and not be hit once, but you walk 2 seconds in the Heart of Thorns one and you're getting attacked by pocket raptors, or you've been like one-shotted by something, or a Mordrum sniper. It is a bit more intense and aggressive, and I think that's a really cool thing, because it really does. I think it's what they wanted the area to feel like. Really, you're that close to an Elder Dragon that it's going to be really intense and kind of dangerous. And I think it was effective, but it doesn't fit a lot of people's playstyles. And when they buy an expansion and want to explore, it doesn't let you do that, really. So I think it's a good decision. But the kind of more casual approach, I don't know whether, like you were saying, it's the environment and the kind of mobs there, or maybe the rewards aren't as grindy potentially, or the heart quests do help. You log in, you've only got 2 hours to play. Oh, but I logged in and dragon stands in the last half hour, so now I have to wait, and then I'm not gonna have enough time to finish it. Blah blah blah. The heart quests do help with that, because you're not limited to the kind of timer, and potentially they'll give you the map currency. That means maybe you can farm these big bosses and do it faster if you're wanting to grind. Or you can just log in and do the heart quests kind of every day that are really chill, and over time build up enough currency to do that and get the rewards that way instead, or something.
The other thing that has me really excited about this map is, believe it or not, are the heart quests, are the fact that these are replayable. I think it's going to add... So something that I struggle with Bloodstone Fen is its replayability. For me, there's just not a lot of replayability in Bloodstone Fen. You get very tired, or I get very tired very quickly of doing the same 4 dailies. Just looking for Bloodstone rubies, basically. The couple of events that are there And I'm not saying it's not profitable or not enjoyable for what you're doing, but you just get tired of it very quickly. And I'm hoping that this map has a lot more replayability. It sounds like there's a lot going on there, at least. So I hope that lends, a lot more credence to the fact that there is a lot more replayable stuff to do.
Yep.
Obviously, it depends on how many hearts there are and how many events involving those hearts and how much on a timer that is and how that timer reacts with the other zones. Because right now, Bloodstone Fen's become this thing that sort of slots into the Heart of Thorns maps, and you do some Heart of Thorns maps, and then you jump to Bloodstone Fen, and then you jump back to the other maps, and you're just kind of map jumping constantly, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I like that they're adding this, perhaps what could be a new variety of map that is a little bit different from what we've been playing for the last 11 months, almost a year now. And so that's a bit refreshing, at least to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody was talking about the Masteries, so that's pretty important. The articles did stress, or that ArenaNet wanted to stress to the article guys and girls, the media people, that you should probably train up the leyline gliding, which is the bottom tier in leyline gliding. It's not that you have to have that, it's that it will make moving around the map much easier and more quickly. And there is a new mastery, a tier 2 of the Ancient Magics, that will cost you 3 mastery points.
Yeah.
So you might want to have 3 extra mastery points. My guess would be, from the pattern we've seen from ArenaNet so far, is that the map will probably have 4 mastery points. They always seem to give you 1 extra. So the map will probably have 3 or 4 mastery points of its own, so that you could earn that. And I would guess that you probably unlock this Ancient Magic tier 2, which is it's been explained as sort of a new Wallows kind of thing, another way to move around the map, but more explosive. So
thermal propulsion mastery.
Thermal propulsion. So it shoots you from place to place. It sounds like, which should be fun.
Yeah. So, but if you've played episode 1 and you've been running around in the Bloodstone Fen, you really need to have leyline gliding at this point. So I had my viewers ask me on Tuesday. They said, okay, so if I want to start preparing now for this new map, like, what should I do? What should I concentrate on? And I said, make sure just in case, get some extra Heart of Thorns mastery points. Ideally make sure you have 3, because it sounds like it's going to cost 3 to get the thermal propulsion. Play Bloodstone Fen and farm up your Unbound Magic, because I believe that is going to kind of be the Season 3 currency. And there's going to be new there's going to be new rewards and new things to buy, undoubtedly. We know that there's an entire new weapon set that is only earnable in-game, in that map. There is a new helm and a new set of shoulders. So
is that a helm? I thought it was shoulders and gloves.
Shoulders and helm. Yeah.
All right.
This is something I talked about in my video. Like, helmets are the new back piece. Like, in the previous Living World, like Season 1, and I think even part of Season 2, it was like back piece. Everything was back pieces, right? Not everything, but obviously a lot of things. And helmets seem to be the new thing. And somebody actually, one of my viewers, left a comment saying that helmets are easier to make or something. I honestly, I know nothing about the whole process on how armor is made. We know that we know that Mo has said, like, look, you're not going to get a full armor set, but you'll get pieces of armor, because that's more obtainable for living story sort of stuff. I was kind of hoping that we would, like, build a whole set of armor, over time.
Yeah.
But it sounds like we've had 2 helmets already. We're getting another helmet and shoulders. Shoulders are cool,
Yeah.
And you can hide the helmet, which, obviously I don't know why you would want to. If
Defeats
it's a
the
brand new
purpose.
Helmet, but helmets are one of those things you can turn on and off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like Kai is saying, a lot of people don't. I know a lot of people that don't like back pieces at all. So
See, I would
helmets,
rather have a back
helmets are
piece
yes.
personally than a helmet.
Me too. I'm the
But
same.
you're absolutely right that in season 1 and 2 we got so many back pieces. I think it's fair to kind of switch to another piece. Plus, like you said, it appeases people who want that armor set. They want interchangeable pieces for their actual armor set rather than just throwing on a backpack. And we're still getting backpacks. We got 5 new backpacks to choose from for the 4th birthday. So, you know, there's your
we should talk about that. That's a little weird
New
too.
back
That's
pieces.
totally shifting gears, but so are we gonna? Do you guys think that we're going to totally way far away from what we were just talking about?
It's all right.
But do you think that I totally forgot about the birthday? Do you think that? Do you think that next year we're going to get to choose another back piece? Because that's only once per year. It's not once per character.
Yeah, I think so.
You get one back piece a year.
I don't know whether to call it a cop-out or what. I mean, they've been giving us like a mail carrier or a finisher, you know, birthday finisher, birthday mail carrier was this year. So, you know, they give us those extra things. You get another die set to choose from. You get, you know, you get your experience scroll, you get boosters. So you get all kinds of stuff. And then this is kind of like that unique thing. I don't see a reason that back piece and just every year you're choosing another one that you haven't chosen yet. I don't see why they would, like, that's got to cover them for the next 5 years for your unique item. You know, I'm not saying I'm happy about it, but it makes sense.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think they will let us choose that, but I don't like the idea. I kind of like this idea of it's a rare thing, and you make your choice, and you just have to kind of take it. You know, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
And I also like the idea of getting something a bit new next year or something a bit more fresh. Sure, they can keep giving us stuff. Like there was the mail carrier still this year as well as the back piece. So next year it could be a glider, you know, and still another choice of the back piece, which would be fine with me.
Yeah.
Level 50 scroll.
It's just, yeah, exactly. It's just if it replaces the kind of new cool, like exclusive item thing with just especially because, you know, whether it takes another year or 4 years, you're gonna at some point have to choose one that you think is crap. You know, like I really hate this back piece, but I have to choose it as my birthday present. It's like going and choosing a pair of socks you get for Christmas. Like, I don't want to do that. Don't give me socks, dude. I don't want this back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they can keep giving us something new every year still and let us slowly get all of them, then cool.
Well, it's funny because I didn't even know. When I first got the gift, I didn't understand that would be it.
For your account.
Right, for my account.
Yeah.
I thought, like, okay, well, now my Guardian's going to hit, and I'll choose a different back piece. So I just chose... I did choose the Asura one, but, like, I chose it randomly. I didn't even, like...
You didn't give so much thought into it as if you knew
I looked at all of
year.
them, and I was like, well, okay, the first birthday, okay, this guy's an Asura. Okay, I'll take the Asura back to start with. And then I'll choose a different one. And then someone was like, no,
it's like an achievement.
Yeah.
So
You don't get to choose again. That's it. That's all you get. I'm like, I really should have thought about that a little more.
Well, you picked a good one. You picked a good one. The Asuran one is very cool. I was going between I was either the Asuran or the Grove one.
Really?
I ended up picking Grove.
The Grove
one. It's got little butterflies that fly around it, but the Asuran one I was really tempted. I was like, that one is really cool.
See, the Grove one, I think my main is Sylvari, but I had to go for the Norn because my first ever character, you know, and I just want to give him that. I never play him, but you know.
And then we get to choose a die from like the extra die packs that weren't covered in the first series, which was nice. I mean, I love dies, so for me that was cool.
I still think they should make those tradable, just because it would mean there's a huge influx of dies pretty much all the way through the year, so the price drops for everyone else, and it lets you sell a die and get some gold. You know, I don't know. I don't like the whole account bound thing because I don't really care about dies.
I'm fine with it being account bound. That's like if you pick like Shadow Abyss, that's a huge, like if you're the first one to log in, you're like, I'm gonna sell it for however much, and I'm just all of a sudden rich.
I'm just salted because whenever I do want a die, it's always too expensive for me to justify spending that much gold on a die.
Yeah.
I have spent a lot of gold on dies.
Don't you like have them all now? Or
I'm done.
You have them all?
Have
Are
every
you
die.
serious?
Yeah.
No way, dude. No way.
Mordramoth, not the dragon, the player, was kind enough to give me like the 2 bloodstone that I was missing.
Oh
Aw,
man.
Um,
that's really sweet.
yeah, it was really nice of him. That being said, I would have saved a whole lot of gold and time
That's ridiculous.
if I didn't delete all my characters.
Yeah.
But the only, like, literally the only regret I have about deleting characters is those birthday dies. Otherwise, I don't care. So someone was like, "I told you so. You would regret it." It's like, it's only because I want those dies. If I didn't care about dies, it wouldn't matter to me whatsoever. But there you go.
So going back a little bit to some stuff that we've missed since the last show, because it's been like a month and a half. We were talking a little bit about this before the show. Basket Brawl is the newest activity that just came out of nowhere. I was like, what? It was so random. It was like
kind of
new activity. I don't know.
Yeah,
like was somebody working on this like in their off time, because it's actually pretty well done.
Mm-hmm.
I played a couple rounds, and
it was really fun to play, and it actually felt really good to play. It didn't feel that clunky, you know, like the kind of controls and the kind of moves you get to do. It felt really well put together, honestly. It was just no achievements, no rewards, so kind of
Yeah, that's what we talked about. For me, and it feels bad because it's like, I've definitely seen people post this before. It's like, well, there's no rewards. Why should I play? And people are like, you play because it's fun. And sure, you play a couple games because it's fun, and then you're like, well, people are very achievement-driven or character progression-driven, right? Especially in MMOs.
In MMOs, it's, you know,
so
it's work.
It's fun, but there's no achievements, there's no real rewards, and you can't queue against guildmates or stuff like that. So
and that's a problem with activities in general. You know, even at festivals, it's like the Winter's Day ones, the kind of PvP type thing. Like, why can't you queue with your friends for that? You know, like it just makes sense to me.
Someone says it's a beta. I didn't realize it's in beta.
I think they were, because the guy, I think the NPC kind of gives the impression that it's try it out, you know, for like a limited amount of time just to check out, which is like, and obviously fair enough. Like it definitely seemed like that too. It just kind of felt a bit out of place, like, to be put in the game at that point. And
there was no like festival that it came with. There was no release that it came with, like, you know, because you have Crab Toss that came with South Sun. You have got the Sanctum Sprint and South Sun Survival, and those were all like connected with releases or festivals. This is just like, here's basketball in Guild Wars 2. Here you go.
I mean, it's decent, but like, I think as well, like, it's definitely bare bones. There's definitely work to be done. Like, you can't see who has the ball. You actually have to like look at the character.
The ball is very hard to keep track of.
You know, like if there was an icon above their head or something to say, "Hey, this guy's got it," then that'd be cool. A couple of things, like even your team colors. Like, you look ahead and okay, that banner over there is yellow, and the one behind there, it's like yellow and green, and the team colors are yellow and green. So I'm like, who the hell's net is that? Like, and after you run around in a circle, you don't know which one's yours, and it kind of got, there's definitely work to be done. Like, and it did feel out of place. If someone told me that like this had been developed 2 years ago and then they just found it and like, oh, we can put this in, like, I would have believed them, you know. Like, I don't know whether this has been made in the past few months just for fun, or whether this is actually just an ancient thing from the engine that they just chucked in there to pad the patch out or something. I don't mind. Like, I would like to see them put more work into the activities, because stuff like Sanctum Sprint is like amazing. It's so good, and to be able to play that properly with your friends, or maybe throw it in as another guild mission or something, you know, like, it'd be really cool.
What they need to do is with the next expansion. With the next expansion, they're undoubtedly going to add more upgrades to the guild hall, more progression to the guild halls. They need to add activities into the progression, and so you can work to unlock South Sun Survival with your guild. You can work to unlock Basket Brawl with your guild.
Absolutely.
Now, I know there's tech issues. I know there's tech issues on the back end that's why, like, you can't queue with your friends. That would be a system that they would have to develop. But I think it would be a brilliant addition to Guild Hall.
So worthwhile. And I think as well, wouldn't it be cool to unlock, like, you upgrade your guild to level whatever, and then you have like a basket brawl court in your guild hall or
Yes.
something? You know, like, it'd be a cool
Everyone
way.
can stand
I
on the
don't know,
sides and
just-
watch the people who
Yeah,
are
dude,
playing.
it'd be amazing. Like a whole Sanctum sprint in your guild hall. It'd be cool, but I don't know. Like, it's a really cool little area of the game that a lot of people forget about. I think activities just in general.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you could somehow blend it in with the kind of adventure system. You know, like, I don't know
Yeah,
how they
some
would do
kind of
that. There could be
daily-
like a leaderboard,
I mean,
and there could be like
there are dailies and there's a
better
leaderboard like
rewards.
for your session while you're in there, but otherwise there's not really an incentive. And like I feel bad because like I love Sanctum Sprint, but
Mhm.
I only go and do it when it's a daily. I do the one to get my daily and then I'm done. Because
If-
there's
imagine they added like a season, and it was like
yes,
it was kind
yes.
of like PvP. You got like points and pips, and then at the end of it, you know, there was this cool reward for doing it, and then you know, like, hey, this guy is the like world champion at Sanctum Sprint or something. There's so much they can do there, and I think
Yes.
it really does appeal to a lot of people. You know, maybe they're not interested in raids, they're not interested in actual PvP, but they kind of like this more minigame style kind of gameplay. It'd be awesome, I think. But
Mhm.
again, I think it's probably the most neglected area of the game at the moment are the activities, even more than dungeons.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I mean, at least dungeons got the achievement thing added.
Yeah, they have
Uh,
achievements.
They have
you
a
know,
section.
it's
I don't know.
interesting. It'll be really interesting to me to see if with the next expansion, and this is a ways away yet, perhaps, but will we continue to see adventures? Adventures seem like it's an interesting idea, and I think that a number of them are really well done. But again, once you get your mastery point from it, let's say silver, or if you really want to go hard at it and get the gold, which I know a number of people have, do you go back afterwards? Like, unless you really love it, do you go out of your way to go to some of these adventures and do them? I feel like some of them
Yeah.
are probably played often, and then others are totally
It's
just
it's a
Yeah.
good source of XP if you're
Yeah.
still grinding masteries and you know
You get
maybe
mastery
the
points.
timer's down, you're waiting for another map to pop up on the timer or something. It's a really good way to get like fill up your XP bar if you just go around and do the kind of easy ones. But even then, I think most of us are kind of either comfortably okay with how many masteries we have or have everything, or are doing metas anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I don't know, man. I don't. Adventures are really, really good. They're really good, and I think it's a really cool way to add a bit more depth to the maps. And it was definitely good in Heart of Thorns because they were so dictated by big events and metas. It was a way to go into the map and not actually have to bother with the big meta event. You know, you could do something else on that map. It was cool. And for collections, I think some of the legendaries require as
Yeah.
well. Someone said in
Yeah.
chat.
Yeah.
But I don't think people are really going through every day and oh, I need to do shooting gallery today.
Unless
you
you're
know?
going for a goal. Like I had
Yeah.
recently, when I was grinding out, I needed Heart of Thorns mastery points, and like that was my current goal, was to max out my mastery points.
That's the point I'm
And
at.
I spent
my
like
last-
1 or 2 days just like going and doing all the adventures and trying to get gold on so many of them, and it was fun. It was really, really fun because I was working towards that goal, and I knew that I mean, even the little mushroom race one, I tried so hard to get gold, and when I finally got it, it felt so good. But I haven't been back since. Like it's fun, but there's always
Yeah.
that drive, that reward
I'm
factor.
currently having the exact opposite experience of that. I need my final mastery, and I need it to finish Nevermore, and so I'm having to get those final little mastery points from different places, and adventures are like the main thing I need, and I've been furious. I get so angry if I can't do it like
Ugh.
first time, and this is so crap, it's so badly designed, but it's just me being crap at them, like I can't. I don't know. I don't handle it very well. So I've been like trying to do like one a day, just staying calm, meditating in between.
I had one where when I made Astrolaria, and I don't remember the names of them, but I had to do a particular adventure. What are they called? Adventures, right?
Yeah.
Blank there for a minute. I had to do a particular adventure, and I had a stream where for like 2 hours I tried to do this adventure I had to get silver, and I was just terrible at it, and I just wasn't doing it correctly. And I actually ended it. I actually was like, okay, guys, I'm like, this is boring for me. So watching it must be super boring, unless you just like to see me fail 300 times in a row. So I went off and I did something else. So then when the stream ended, like the next day, I went back to do it, and I'm like, I've been doing the wrong adventure for like 3 hours.
Oh no!
Oh, no.
And I went to the adventure that I had to do, and I did it on like my second try.
Oh jeez!
I'm like, I wasted 3 hours on an adventure I didn't even need to do. Feels bad, but I think there's an accessibility problem for some of them, even still. And the reward structure, especially after you get the master, unless you're there, like you said, for a specific reason, the reward structure to go and do it randomly or daily or whatever, unless you need experience, is just not. It's just not really there.
Yeah.
Remember that stream? See, I liked doing them on stream because people would give me tips and like tell me shortcuts.
Yeah, I think when you've got people watching you as well, you're more encouraged to keep trying. I just kind of I give up really easily, so
yeah,
it kind of wears me down. But then I don't know. Like people always complain about the shooting gallery, and I don't know if they changed it. I don't know if they made it easier or something.
They did.
Yeah, I
Right.
think they did.
I
I
did
think
it,
it's
I did it,
still like
first
almost
try, and it
impossible
was
to get gold though.
Yeah, I got silver like
Or is it? I
I think
forget.
after 2 or 3 tries or something.
It's
So
definitely
I was like,
easier
oh, it's
now.
not that bad. I don't know why everyone's complaining, but yeah, I think they made it easier.
Yeah.
I need to go back and get gold on most of those.
Yeah.
Eventually, someday.
It feels
Just
so
for
good
achievement
when you've been
points.
working on one, just you've been working on it and working on it and working on it, and then you finally get gold, and it's just such a
Yeah,
good
but then you
feeling.
see you're like 3,000th or something on the leaderboard. and
Ah,
you're
I
like-
don't even look at the leaderboards. I don't care about the leaderboards. Speaking of leaderboards, let's talk about the new PvP arena coming to the game on September 20th, the Eternal Coliseum. I'm not a
See, that
huge
sounds
PvP
cool.
person, but this thing sounds amazing. It's basically modeled after a giant Roman Coliseum.
Right.
And, I mean, PvP mechanics aside, which there are some, like, new mechanics, there's dynamic reactionary crowds in the stands that will cheer for you or boo you, depending on how you're doing.
Yeah.
What? Sounds amazing.
I mean, it sounds really, really fun. The mechanics as well. So the buffs. I mean, there's maps with buffs now. Anyway, you know, on Forest you kill a beast, you get like a slight boost. And then there's
We
buffs
sound
on
strong,
Temple.
though.
But they sound really strong. Like a 90-second buff offering a 20% damage boost. I mean, that's a lot. That's
and
a
Wow.
and an instant stomp.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. I mean, there's a defense one, a 5,000 HP boost. I mean, that is a lot as well. You know, like.
And an instant resurrection. Yeah, they're pretty interesting, especially if they can be. I'm wondering if they can be active at the same time or not. My guess would be that they. I don't know. Do you think they can be active at the same time? Or
Yeah,
would
I don't know. Instantly resurrecting all your guys, giving them 5,000 HP boost, and then stomping everyone who's automatically down on the enemy team, and you have a
Jeez.
20% damage boost. I feel like this could be a really cool map to see big comebacks potentially. But I also, like, based on the information we have right now, it could be one of those maps that, like, as soon as that first buff spawned, within the first couple minutes or something, you're just going to be steamrolled. You know, if they're winning team fights anyway, then they get the 2 buffs. There's nothing you can do for the next,
Yeah, forget
minute
it.
and a half, and they're going to have this huge lead, and then you're basically screwed, you know, like... They're really powerful, which can be really cool for comebacks, but it could just be one of those things where you're just having to sit, you know, waiting for your team to lose for 10 minutes or something. I don't know. We'll have to see it in action. I think at the bottom of the article said that the World Championships are on the 17th, and there's a public reveal of the map there.
Yeah.
And I think it says here that some of the best players in the world may be duking it out on this new stage. So that it'd be cool to see there. It sounds fun, and I'm interested as well to see if it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be in beta, like Capricorn was. So maybe we'll get some achievements or a new title like we did then or something. That'd be quite cool.
If you're interested in the PvP achievements, like the Capricorn achievements, which are only available to like October 3rd, you should probably, if you haven't already done them, and you're like me, you should be working on them now, because when the new map comes out on the 20th, like, people are going to play that new map in Unranked, mostly, especially if there's achievements involved with it. And getting your salty sea dog is going to be even more difficult than you know, like it is right now.
It's gonna be rough. And I think it's already hard. And even I did them as soon as they came out, and it was already difficult just because you got trolls coming in and voting for the kind of basic maps and then raging and laughing at everyone. It was annoying. But yeah, it sounds really, really cool. I like the kind of the crowd reaction stuff sounds good, and there's a similar thing on Capricorn too, where every time you ring the bell, your ship fires the cannon, and then the map kind of changes dynamically based on them. I don't know. It's cool. I like that kind of the map design's obviously a lot better. You play any of the kind of default maps in ranked, and you can see that the design is really 2012 Guild Wars 2. The way they're designed, and they fit the purpose, but just graphically and stuff like that, it's not as good as it could be. So it's gonna be nice.
I mean, I wish it was. I'm in the super big minority here. I wish it was a Stronghold map, and I wish they would go back and refine Stronghold and deal with some of the issues that it has. But I understand it's not a favorite. I understand.
I mean, it was such a big deal as well. Like,
yeah.
I understand that's not the preferred game type. I understand that Conquest is like the sellable game type and stuff for them, but
yeah. But then so many people were asking for a new game mode, but I think it's just in general, it's the whole it should be PvP, not PvE, and the whole you're guiding and attacking and defending NPCs. It's Stronghold's amazing. I am sad to say that like the only time I've played it like this entire year so far was by accident, where I was queuing for Conquest and I got thrown into a Stronghold match, and that's like, and I was annoyed, and then I actually had a good time, but I still not. It's just not something I think about. I don't. Oh, I'm gonna go play Stronghold.
When you think PvP, you don't think Stronghold.
I just don't. I go into that mindset, and all my build, and the thing is as well, you need different builds for it too. For most, it's not super necessary, but I think if you're going in with your friends and you're gonna try and win, you change stuff up a bit, and I think everyone without build templates, everyone's stuck into Conquest mode, so they're just gonna be less and less likely to queue up for both or for Stronghold. Yeah. So
there's definitely a thing where those who do play Stronghold on a regular basis know the game mode fairly well, so that if you solo queue into it, or even if you go in with 2 or 3 people and you face one of these other groups, probably gonna be a bad time for you. Yeah.
I think it is kind of on ArenaNet as well, because they haven't really supported it at all. There's not been a cool little tournament going, and maybe they wanted people like ESL to do stuff, and I have no idea if they actually have done little weekly Stronghold tournaments or anything, but I don't know. And Kai said it's been a while since we had a new Conquest map. I mean, we had the Capricorn one, but I think it's true. Conquest has been in the game since launch, and all of the maps that we have, have been there since launch. And
it's been a while since we've had a new Conquest map.
It could do with, especially because it is the main mode, and I can't really blame them for focusing on Conquest, considering how popular it is.
Now they just need a rank system that actually means something. Yeah, I agree. And this is coming from a player that would not rank anywhere near the middle even on a meaningful ranking system, but hey.
Yeah, the fact that your skill is based on how many pips you have, it means you start playing the season halfway through and you're stuck with people who aren't on your level at all, because all of those people who are on your level got more pips, they're higher above you, and it's like, that doesn't work. The kind of ranking system doesn't work very well. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe they'll shake things up.
Mm. It's just one of those things where if you play enough, you will get whatever you want out of that system. If you want to make it to Legend, if you want to get the back piece, which you don't even need to get the Legend to get the back piece,
no.
You will get all of that stuff if you just literally play enough. You might have to play a whole lot, but you could make any of those things.
Yeah. I think it's like any tier from Amber to Ruby, you can just kind of... You don't see a guy, oh, that guy's Ruby, he must be okay. You know,
right,
it doesn't matter. You could basically AFK and you could potentially get to Ruby just because it's based off the amount of wins you eventually get.
I didn't see your Ziggs.
He's back there.
Here.
I seen Ock pop in. So
yeah, Akasaurus popped into the chat. This is... He made us all little quaggins. I got a Sailor Moon pink quaggin. Thanks so much, dude.
Yeah.
Let's wrap up the show here with a final question, kind of going back to the episode 2. I have been calling it season 2 just forever. Like, I can't get that word out of my mind. Season 3, episode 2. Do you guys think that going to the Ring of Fire and, again, the possibility of there being destroyers and stuff there, do you think that this means that Primordius is definitely the next dragon in the next expansion? Like, are they confirming this? And also, how many episodes do you think we're going to see in Season 3?
Good question.
Questions.
I would say maybe 6 episodes.
I was just thinking 6. Yeah.
And...
6 to 8? 6 to 8? 8 might be a little bit.
Yeah, I would say 6. I think 6 is the kind of the way I'm thinking. And if that's every like 2 months, I mean, you know, that's like a year of this basically, which I think is enough time. I don't know. I think Primordius is not the one I want next, and I think a lot of people don't want him just because he was the kind of main one for a lot of people because of, you know, what happened in the North and stuff. It's like this. He was the first one. He should be the last one we get rid of.
It worries me.
Maybe he will be, though. Maybe we do this expansion, and then maybe then they'll follow up on the story of perhaps we shouldn't be killing the dragons, you know? Or maybe another dragon does appear and something happens.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I hope that Mordramoth was the last dragon that we kill, honestly. I hope the story goes in that kind of direction more, rather than the kind of cookie cutter, we're the heroes, we'll kill this one, and then do the same thing. I want something a bit more...
It is becoming very cookie cutter, and I don't think that's where ArenaNet wants it to go. No. Maybe, I mean, they've introduced a lot of this with the White Mantle, the Mersat, Lazarus, so I want to see the story go more in that direction.
Yeah. Me too. So maybe something will happen this season that kind of shakes that up, and we might be right on the verge of going to march against Primordius, and then some big reveal or something happens.
I think that we're going to start to see that killing dragons is not the solution to our problems, even though obviously the dragons are a big problem, and they kill lots of people and cities, and they destroy the landscape and stuff. Obviously they're a big problem, but killing them, and we've been talking about this for a long time, right? Killing them is probably not the right answer. We're starting to see that magic is sort of getting out of hand. Mm-hmm. And right now, like a lot of things are absorbing the magic, Lazarus being one of them. Is that such a good idea to let Lazarus be eating all the bloodstone up? And probably not. Probably not the best idea ever.
We haven't spoken about the little sad anomaly guys either.
Oh, man. Right. It took me so long to finally see one of those for myself. I've finally started seeing them.
They're popping up more and more. And somebody noticed too that like one of them looked like they were splitting a little bit.
Yeah, you
really?
On them. The three colors of Veil Guardians.
Oh, Veil Guardians everywhere throughout Tyria.
So it's gonna be interesting too.
And we didn't talk about is Ritlock going to ignore us when we ask him about his sword again? When we get
Yes.
to the
Yes,
Ring of
he
Fire?
is.
Yeah,
Yes,
the
he
Scepter
is.
of Ore and Sahathan, both. I think both of these were the last places those were seen, right? So
Well, Livia picks
Mystery-
up the Scepter of Ore from not the Fire Islands at the
Yeah,
end
right.
of Eye of the North.
yeah,
So
but again, it's kind of a big thing there. And then Sahat, well, I don't know. What did it count? Does it count really? Because spoilers for Go Wars 1, Rurik's obviously dead at that point.
yeah.
Does that count where Sahathan was last?
Oh, you still have the sword.
Yeah,
Isn't-
he had the sword when he was
guess.
risen, which was in the Fire Islands, and then he died, and we just kind of never heard about it again.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. Okay, so so Ritlock should acknowledge that.
I have no.
Well, it'll be
hopes.
interesting to, like, we don't know where he got the sword from, right? We sort of, I think some people sort of assume that he's been to the Ring of Fire Islands before, but maybe
I don't
he
think
hasn't.
that. I don't want him to have done that because it just like why would he be there?
So,
Char
like,
are really
so then-
inward-looking people anyway. Like as
So
a
if he hasn't been there, then how did he get that? That leaves an even bigger mystery on how he got the
I think
sword,
the
right?
Skrit came along and stole it because they're pirates, and then just
Oh, God.
delivered it over to Ascalon.
And then he stole it from some
Right.
Skrit. He bought it on the
It-
street, some Skrit.
It is a good
Shame.
question of, do you think that there's a good way to tell that story in the game anyway?
That's not going to be
I-
disappointing
that's
after all this
that's-
time.
After
Right,
all this
yeah.
time. Mhm.
I don't know.
I mean, there's no strong theories about it either. You know, like the people knew or had there was a strong theory about the Savari being dragon minions or the Pale Tree being one or something. And so by the time that reveal happened, it was like, oh, cool, like it's confirmed, but it wasn't like a big. I think usually for all these mysteries that end up coming true so far, anyway, we've kind of had a strong, reasonable kind of theory that's leading us in the same direction. But for Ritlock and Sahathan, there isn't really any kind of general consensus on why he has that sword. So it could make any kind of reveal they have a bit more effective. I don't think we're going
Yeah.
to be that disappointed, but I hope they have an answer already and they're not having to make one up now or something. I hope it's been in their kind of archives for a while.
Yeah. I kind of
'cause it
agree
needs
with
to be-
Kai
I
in
want-
chat. It's now or never. We're going to the
Yeah.
Ring
Yeah.
of Fire. It's now or never, Ritlock. Tell us. Or don't. I have no hopes, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've put that
I
behind
mean,
me. Never
it's like
gonna
a
figure
joke.
out.
It's like an actual.
It is. It's a joke now. Later, Cub.
Oh man.
Damn you, Ritlock.
Damn you,
We'll
Ritlock.
see.
Answer my questions.
Maybe he'll die or he gets corrupted and we have to kill him with his own sword and
Oh.
be exactly like Traherne. And then
Oh.
we get the Sahathan.
Pick up the sword and
And then
kill
we'll have
me.
to take it to the same forge guy, the heir to Magdair.
He will
Doesn't
fuse
exist.
them into the next legendary greatsword.
Dude, imagine
By
that.
the sword of fire and ice.
Oh boy.
Cool.
That's what it's gonna be.
I'm
Well, guys.
holding on to my. Oh, sorry. It's in my...
No.
No, I'm just saying I'm keeping a hold of my broken Khaled ball that you get at the end of Heart
Oh.
Thorns just because I
think
want
I'd
to
salvage that.
reforge it one day. You know, I hope they introduce something, but
Someday.
probably not. I'm just jealous. I've been wanting to have a
Need-
Khaled ball since the personal story.
You need Khaled Bog, you need Broken Khaled Bog, 100 mini Queen Jennas,
Yeah,
and 2 other items.
mini Traherne.
And a mini
Sure.
It's just it was just so insulting that the expansion that gave Necro Greatsword, which would have been perfect to finally take Calibog, and then it breaks and it's a friggin' normal sword. It's not a greatsword anymore, so I can't
Yeah,
use it as a wire.
It's like, oh, you want Khaled Bog, huh?
Oh, here you go.
You
It's
never
not
have it.
Necro anymore.
Well, guys, we're going to wrap up the live show there, but if you're watching live on Twitch, please stay tuned. We're going to talk with you guys in the post show, answer questions, have fun with y'all, and just go crazy. Anything the post show, it gets crazy here on Twitch. If you're watching on YouTube, you need to join us here on Twitch for GuildGab. And we might have one next week. We will definitely have one the week after episode 2 comes out. So stay tuned for updates there. Follow us on Twitter and YouTube. All those links are down in the description or in the chat. Thank you for watching. We will see you guys next time. Take care and have fun with episode 2. Bye!